Our mission at Confronting Domestic Violence is to provide real-time resources to victims and offer relocation services when parents have a safe place to go and not the means to get there. Countless families wake up in fear, navigating a battleground in their own home, trapped in a cycle of violence. It is a known fact the most dangerous time for a victim is when the abuser knows they're leaving right up to the point of leaving. The biggest challenges a parent faces is fear and finances. While we aim to help numerous families each month by fostering multi-agency collaborations, we're humbly asking you for your support. Every little bit helps to make our mission a reality for families ready to leave their toxic, abusive environment. No parent should have to leave everything behind or resort to homelessness. Your contribution can make a world of difference in offering a family to feel safe at home.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Showing up makes a world of difference. And Nicole is right. We met in 2022. It was at some networking event. I can't even remember where, maybe
Playhouse.
Yeah.
Yep.
And from the moment we connected behind the scenes on the podcast, we have stayed connected ever since. I have watched her evolve and grow her network. And like she mentioned earlier, I just showed up. She did all the work behind the scene to make this happen. And I have seen her do this with countless other individuals to help expand their network and grow their business. And so I just can't be more grateful to be a part of this journey with you. And she also sits on the board. So thank you so much for all of your time, dedication, and contributions to how you're supporting us here at Confronting Domestic Violence. I will say that if you didn't hear it in the commercial, that our mission is to provide real-time resources to real-time victims and offer relocation services when families have a safe place to go and not the means to get there. With the current economic conditions and funding being revoked, primarily for domestic violence organizations, we're looking to sustain ourselves by doing things like this, hosting campaigns, bringing in sponsors, and also providing training for workplace violence prevention. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys are going to hear more from Agape. She's got such a great heartfelt story, and it's my honor to be on this journey with her because she's been so supportive to me and to the people that she works with. And should have looked for that. I'll look for that later because we need to share that one clip from the news when you have, was it Elizabeth Vargas that you had on there? You remember that and how she shared her story. So Agape can get anybody to talk. She can get anybody to tell a truly heartfelt story in real time, live on TV. This is an act. Not really. I guess she's an actress. She's on reality TV, right? But for her to get somebody to tell a story first time in real time on a news channel in front of the world. She'll never tell it again. She pulled me aside. She's like, "Oh, I'm never going to tell this to anybody again." But she wasn't even going to come. She wasn't even come out of the car, was she?
She said that she had locked herself in the bathroom for 24 hours prior to even making it to the studio because she did not realize that she had PTSD until it was time for her to actually speak about her situation, her experience. And when I met her at the studio, rubbed her back a little bit and was like, "Have you ever heard of post-traumatic growth, PTG?" And she was like, "What is that?" So I explained it to her, and then she was like, just, "All right, let's do some breathing exercises." And we went up there and yeah, you could tell in the video that she was definitely navigating through those emotions real time. And She was almost hesitant to make it to our event as well. It was our inaugural gala, and she spoke on stage. She did not share the story again, but as Nicole mentioned, she definitely recognized that she had a form of PTSD from that devastating time in her life and that she had to do some work.
And,
Yeah.
and the reason I bring that up is I think it's important for people to know how caring you are. And there's so many people out there, especially in nonprofits, that want to support, whether it's domestic violence victims or puppies and kittens, aren't telling the story, that aren't able to really share what they're doing. And of course, as servants of our clients, of our community, when we're in servitude, it's hard for us to talk and tell the story. But the juicy story is what everybody wants to hear. And I think that's so important to see you come in and grow with that. I love that. I love what you're sharing and of course your mission. But let's get into sharing this and we'll get on to the panel. And it's an honor to have you here. We're so glad you're here and welcome. And just really just take a deep breath and just breathe right into your chest and just feel that heartbeat of you and the fact that you're here to support not only yourself for showing up today, but everybody here in the servitude and the sisterhood that we have going on. What a wonderful thing and what an honor and a blessing. And we're exactly right here where we're meant to be. This is the divine alignment of the vibration that we can serve, and this is what it means to have the support, and such an honor to be part of this community. This summit is really, it's not creative for people who have it that easy. It's to understand that we have failures and what can we do when we're creating our new life and moving forward and not looking back. Sometimes it's hard to look in that rear view mirror. Maybe you're driving the car where the rear view mirror has been cracked and you can't really see that. Maybe you're not meant to look back because it's hard to get past that post traumatic growth, but that's what we're here for, to develop into that, to have the growth and to entwine that with the emotional intelligence and the healing and doing the shadow work, but also to provide solutions. That's what we're here for today. And it's created for the ones who've been through something, the ones who've walked through the chaos, but not just surviving, but they're thriving. And how do we get back into that? And you've walked through that chaos, maybe the heartbreak or the burnout, and you still choose to show up. And I've had the honor of hearing many of your stories before and sharing a panel, a podcast, or just a conversation. And that's what this is all about, is to hear those stories, sometimes to be the fly on the wall, but to engage and to change, to scale up. And that's how we're changing not just one person, but several. And then let's be clear, this isn't about reliving that pain. We don't want you to feel that trigger again and again and emotional. It's about honoring what you have forged in that fire and seeing maybe that piece of artwork or that sword to get through life. And at some point, every one of us realizes that in this truth, survival is not the destination, it's the foundation to heal past that, to be the mentor, to go from apprentice to master. And you don't come through the devastation by just getting by. You come through this to rise with clarity and leave with confidence and to align with who you truly are. So I'm honored to have you here and so glad you're here in support of this. And we'll get right to the speaker panel. So awesome. Let me bring some other people in. Oh, awesome. We've got more people coming in, and I just got a little something dinged right here, and some more people are getting ready to come in. So we're so glad to have you. And it's an honor you're here. Let me bring in one question. This question, Agape, I got to bring you up first, and I'm going to spotlight you here. I'd say in one sentence, but I think it's worth more than that. What did devastation look like for you before you found the alignment, the strength to move forward?
Ooh, that is a loaded question. Devastation for me was,
You went
and
muted.
am I unmuted
Oh,
now?
wow.
He wasn't muted.
We can
Hello.
hear her.
Well, just try
We can hear
again.
her.
It looks like your signal, friend, wiped out right at that. Let me try that again. I can't unmute you. Let me.
She's not muted,
No.
Nicole.
I know.
We can all
I
hear
got it.
her.
I can't hear her at all.
You
Unmute.
can't.
How about now?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
There she is. Okay. All right. Gotcha. Gotcha. Great. Awesome. Let's try
All
again.
right. So back to that loaded question of yours. And what did devastation look like for me, and how did I get through it until I was aligned? I will have to say that the devastation for me happened in a matter of 10, 15 minutes. For those that don't know my story, I survived a double attempted homicide while I was 8 months pregnant, over 1,000 miles away from home, and with an 8-year-old daughter present. And it was about 11 something at night. And so after I was able to escape, I would have to say that the police probably showed up in 20 minutes, but it felt like 20 hours. And I just kept racking my head on the stair. Like, I can't believe this happened. Is this really my life? What is going on? Am I even going to be able to see tomorrow? I was just, devastation is a complete blanket of doubts that wraps you so tight that you don't see anything other than doubts, or you don't think about anything other than doubts. And it took me, I would have to say, because it was such of an extreme sense of devastation and survival, within about 24 hours, I realized that staying in that tightly wrapped blanket was not going to move the needle the way it needed to be moved as a single mom and with a child in school and one on the way. So I started taking action immediately. But again, that was just survival actions being taken. I would have to say that the journey for me was quite some time, because this incident happened about 21 years ago and their mental health wasn't a thing yet. And me being in a brand new state, I didn't even know what help was available for me. So I was really just in my head, and it became a roller coaster because there was a lot of self-sabotage. Trust no one, rely on no one, do everything yourself so it can be kept tight and on point. Run that tight ship, girl. And it took, I would have to say, about 5 years before I really felt aligned with who I was. And it had to start with identifying and really truly knowing who I am not, to start building those boundaries and maintaining who I am not, to continue growing and evolving in who I am. And that took quite some time because of the multi-level interruption, disruption, and devastation that took place mentally, physically, financially, even with a roof over my head, you name it. And it was definitely devastated and erupted. So that's about how long it took. And then, of course, with kids, that roller coaster of alignment will definitely make you go for that true ride. And I would have to say, it just takes time, dedication, commitment, and repetitiveness. You have to, as you evolve, so do your definitions, and so does your outlook on life. And as long as you're able to align yourself with your definitions and walk in them, that's how you stay in alignment. When you're walking in your belief system, when you're walking in your definitions. And that took a while because of the extreme devastation that I went through.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for that. To recognize that and to be able to talk about that and to grow and to share that. Thank you for the vulnerability of what you're sharing right now today. Holly, I'm going to bring you up, and I've got a question for you now. Just a quick question before I get to Holly. Can you guys see everything okay? Is the sound coming all right? I just got an email from some people. They're having an issue getting in on the Zoom link. So I'm putting that out again. Looks like with the head nodding. Thank you for answering that. All right, Holly. For you on a shift breakthrough, and for you at any time, and this can be at any moment of life, if we've all experienced a bit of chaos, whether it was abuse or just our life, right? There's some tragedy around us, and seeing like the phoenix rising, coming to the other side. For you, was there ever like lie that you believed during a chaotic moment, and then realizing, wow, like it's a great awakening when you're set free and that you're like, oh, I can break free from this. And there's a mental mindset, your saboteur is kicked in. What happened? What did that look like for you? How did you overcome it?
I have a couple of different stages in life that happened, and great coming out on the other side, growing up in a abusive family with an alcoholic mother, and you just go inside, and a lot of it's negativity because of the what you're around. And so it was like I moved to New York when I was 19 or 18, and getting out of that and seeing that there was a different world. Like people didn't react like this, and that I could go out of it. That was really big for me. And I went through some addiction problems that I conquered when I was 20 years old. And talk about the phoenix rising. It's changing your life. It just all just comes out of it. And then I'll talk about in my talk tomorrow about just my career and how there was a huge devastation in the community, in the industry that I was in. So it is about that. Every single time that I've gone through something bad, it has brought me to another place. But when you're going through it, it's horrible. And just talking about the domestic violence, thank you. You just gave me chills. And so I'm glad to be able to support you.
Yeah, her Agape's story is just so amazing in what she's done and what she's come through. And you're like, ah, I'm not having a real bad day. Yeah, I can't be having a bad day with that going on in your life. How'd you get over that? And I've seen that a lot, and that's where I have not been in those moments, and I'm thankful, but a domestic violence victim, but it's been around me, and there's some toxic
Mhm.
issues, and I have stood in that and been there rescuing people from those moments.
Mhm.
And so to be here, it's very important to say that I wish we could pass out an easy button and
Mhm.
just be like, okay, time to, or if you could be I Dream a Genie and just be
Yes.
like, okay, out of this situation, here we go.
That exact thing.
But and it's the ability to be able to laugh and to
Mhm.
overcome and to be in joy and find wonderful people that have come through it as well. Lois, I'm gonna bring you up here and I've got a question for you. And what's one decision that's really changed everything for you in your life that brings you the ability in your experience? Because I know you have a lot of solutions and you're a very supportive person and you're always coming in here and just being in support and caring for others. What's that one decision that you made that changed everything in your life?
I think that the number one decision was to accept Christ as my savior. I will be very honest with you on that one. That is my number one best decision. As far as a business, I would say my biggest push forward is just to stay up with technology. Don't get left behind with it. I remember when I wanted to encourage my husband to have a website for our gallery. I had to create a whole full presentation. It was like a 30-minute presentation of all the benefits and what the cost would be and everything. And after that presentation, he actually said, I don't think we should do this. But fortunately, there was a friend there listening also to my presentation, and he backed me up. And then we were able to get a website. There's always a question when you're moving into new technology. It's like, is this going to work? Should we let somebody else get it figured out and that type of thing? Just keeping up with technology makes a big difference as far as a business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just setting up this link here. Excuse me for 1 second. Talk about technology. Looks like the link on the main site was wrong, so I'm putting another email out. But it can be devastating, and that's part of this, right? Because we're trying to work online, and I believe that the technology and being able to work online helps when people are getting out of bad situations because no matter where you are, you can still show up if you have to show up for work. You can still
Right.
show up If you have to do a business call, you can still show up for a few minutes. And sometimes it's so much easier than battling 45 minutes of traffic.
Yeah.
Easier to show up online because there's virtual reality, or there's avatars, or there's a Shopify store that you can create, or there's technology that you can do where you can still make a buck and find financial freedom. That's what's so important about doing things like Summit. It's virtual. You
Mm.
never know who you're really going to reach. You never know what story you're going to tell. And without the advent of technology, we couldn't do as much as we do globally.
And you don't know who's going to hear your story now or hear the recording 3 or 4 years from now. You are making an impact through technology much quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So that is updated. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Being able to do it and have people and that's what this is about, because we're all entrepreneurs for the most part of it that's here. And we have this technology that we can utilize to show up together and to show up in support. And what can we do to make the world a better place? So, Samantha, I'm going to bring you up to the spotlight. I've got a question for you. And so, for you in your life, what changed in your life, or maybe even your business, that once the clarity showed up to make a decision and to stand in your grace and to align with your passionate purpose and what you do?
I love that question. There was got a few things running through my head right now that when the clarity really came through. Before the COVID epidemic, I actually had opened up an entire wellness center, had everything under one roof. It was just an amazing wellness place that anyone could come to and receive whatever they're looking for, having that help all under one roof. And COVID had hit, and it took down my business, really. And I ended up having to close my doors. But it was in that moment that I realized, like, people were still contacting me. They were still like, we miss you. I don't care what they say about masks. I need my help. I need my wellness, my massage, my whatever it was they were coming in for, that yoga, whatever it was. And it was at that time that I realized that people really need this for that whole health living. It's not just looking at one thing that's going wrong in our lives. It's looking at the whole individual and healing from that point. And so that clarity came in for me when I had those phone calls, those people reaching out saying, are you going to be opening back up? And I had that drive and passion enough to be like, yeah, let's do this. It was a feat that I had to go through, but moved into reopening another place and now doing it virtually online. And just the healing that I can bring into the world, being more virtual, being online has, there's no words for it. It's just a blessing in its own. Yeah. I don't know if that answered your full question.
It really did. And when you bring that up, it's just how many people can you not, when the doors are closed here, and I probably not told this story publicly to a lot of people, but 9/11, I worked in the police department. My mom wakes me up. Nicole, come in. She's knocking on the door. Wake up. And I'm like, okay. So for those of you who don't know, just as a side note, my mom has multiple personality disorders. So I don't know which one of her was showing up that day. And I'm tired. I was working in the police department. I was going to school. I was doing everything that I possibly could do because it was part of that lie that I had to constantly be going. But it's a good way to not have to deal with your family problems if you're a workaholic. But healed from that one. But really, get this, I'm watching the devastation on TV and I'm like, why are you watching these bad things? Because she could not at all she could not watch scary movies. I love the shoot 'em up stuff, that whole thing, the horror movies at the time. And I'm like, you can't watch this. I've told you before, you can't watch it. And I'm half awake, whatever, just coming out of that sleep. And I don't know about you, I don't wake up like right away out of bed all happy and woo. I need 20 cups of coffee to get to that point, right? And I'm just like, go back, leave me alone. So finally, I get up. She's just not stopping, and I get up, and of course I'm fit to be tied, and I see this thing, devastation on TV, and I go to turn off the TV, and it's the news channel. And I'm like, you're in your news cycle. Get out of it. You don't get paid to watch it. I do. That's part of my life. Then you watch this, and of course, I'm getting ready to dressed, call into work. Do I need to come in? What's going on? Bloody, bloody, bloody. Might as well get it from the source, right? What a greater place to work at, because you're going to get as much of the truth as you can get in the moment of what's happening. But the devastation not only occurred into, oh shit, this is going on in the world, but the devastation was we had to lock our doors in the police department. Didn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know. What are they going to walk? What's Al Qaeda going to walk in the door? What are you talking about? Me being me, I've not changed. But because of everything going on, because of the threats, because of the anthrax and all the scary stuff that happened, because it was real. And those of you who don't believe that the aftermath of what, there was some absolute realness to it, no matter what conspiracy you're going down. But in that moment when it's really happening, it's such a devastation. And then in 2020, to have the casinos in Las Vegas, of all places, to lock down. And for my heart, my passion was to serve people and rescue people. That was me, police department, security. We were rescuing people. A lot of times we were rescuing them from themselves, but physically, mentally, emotionally, not to be able to be stopped. For someone to tell you, you cannot go forward and heal. You cannot go forward and use all your prayers, your tool belt, you cannot use. And in a sense, even those who had like a Reiki shop or the masseuse or the psychiatrist, they're stopping you from healing. And that's what this is about. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, is because we're here to do that. And no matter what, we have to open our doors some way, somehow.
Yeah.
And that's what's so wonderful about doing this, is that we can stand in our grace and move forward and use our powers for good, and maybe wave a magic wand. And soon we'll be stepping in dimensional reality and heal people. But that's another thing. And that's what's great about the virtual reality too, is there's a soft space and a safe space that we can develop. So the next, whatever crazy thing that happens, we can be prepared for that. So thank you so much for sharing that. Let me bring up here, I'm just going to go down my screen and pick Jessica. Ta-da. Hello, Jessica. I only got to meet you for a minute, but I love your energy and I'm so glad that you're here. And so, Jessica, how did your confidence shift once you stopped surviving and you got into leading and being a soul-led leader? How did that shift for you?
For me, the shift definitely took time. My devastation started back in 2022 when my husband was, for anybody, I guess, shockingly diagnosed with ALS. And so that started a domino effect, really, that I didn't know what was happening at the time. But when you receive shocking news like that, you really are prompted to step back and really start asking those powerful questions. It punches you in the face as far as, what do I want life to look like once things do settle down? And so fast forward to probably last year or so, time has passed and I've done a lot of healing. And through that, I asked the questions, what do I really want to do with the time that we all know that tomorrow is not guaranteed, but just asking the hard questions. And it just really started to become clear to me that I'd made a lot of rules for myself, had a lot of preconceived notions about what I should be doing, what success looked like, and all of the things. And when I really started to take a look, I thought, you know what? I don't want to work this 9-to-5 job that I've been working for a long time. And it really felt right, and that it was time for me to transition to becoming an entrepreneur. And so I would say it definitely took some time, but once I realized the time was right, I made the decision and I haven't looked back.
I, for one, am so glad that you did. And I think everybody here would agree that you've made that decision and now you're standing strong. So thank you for rising into that, what you're into now, into that grace and that energy. So I'm going to bring up here, let's see, go through they just keep popping around. Look at that. So Nikki, we've met, right? But we had a conversation and you chose to come on the stage, and I am so grateful for that. For you, the question would be from a devastating moment, what surprised you most about who you became after that storm?
Wow. You'll hear more about my story later, but my servitude was to a wheelchair for 11 years. And although that seems like, oh, wow, you don't get it, you don't understand, the devastation in the heart is very similar. You feel useless, you feel worthless, you lose yourself. And once I got over once I discovered that my circumstances did not define me, and I am a total Jesus freak, and like Lewis, that's one of my greatest decisions was to follow Jesus, but not even what Scripture says about you defines you. It's what you believe about what it says and what you believe about yourself that defines you. So having that switch was my greatest moment of breaking out from that devastation, because I'd had so much faith. And when the doctor said, you'll never walk again, I was mad. I was broken, and my world went dark in a different way to other people's, but the darkness is the same. And it was choosing to find the light and see the light in that. And that's why now I'm the joy junkie, because I believe we get to find joy even in the darkest moments.
I love that. And I know that's why we are divinely aligned, because I was told as a child that I'd never walk again and I should just get used to it. And then when people are like, why are you walking? Why are you outside? Why are you because I can. Why would I not? I love it. It's still suffering those certain things at certain times, but I am so glad that you're here with us. And it's in that healing and in that desperation sometimes where we find those times we find our greatest strengths, and we choose, are we going to truly believe in this? Is this the best belief for us? And how do we overcome that? And how does it power us? It's that poem of footprints. When the child asks, I'm only seeing one set of footprints. And Jesus says, well, that's because I'm carrying you. And you're just like, hello. Oh, gotcha. Because you've been carried through life. And as an adult, sometimes it seems that we're alone, but are we truly? And are we reaching out? And that has effect in life with our clients or with our business. You're never alone. You shouldn't be alone. That's why we're here gathering together. And thank you so much for that. I'm so glad. And I do look forward to hearing your story. So let's see here. Janet, Miss Janet, I got a question from you, and I love to hear your story. And Janet called me after the last event. I love the conversation that we have and what she's done. But Janet, your question for today is, what's one habit, a boundary, or maybe even a mindset that keeps you aligned today in your journey?
Oh my goodness. You couldn't ask a better question, Nicole. I love that question. And that is so easy for me to answer because it has been a mindset of mine and an attitude just about every moment of the day. And that is gratitude. Now, people might look at me and say, oh, Jenny, your life has been just pretty miserable with all the stuff that I went through. But what has lifted me up is just a sense of gratitude, being grateful for what I do have, what I can still do. Like Nikki and Lois, and you too, Nicole, I have a deep faith in Christ Jesus who allowed me to see beyond my blindness. And I think I learned to be able to see each circumstance with different eyes and see what the possibilities are, the open doors, and the way I can use my creativity. Because when you can't see anything, you have to figure out how to do things, right? With my YouTube channel, when I show how to cook and how to do my own recipes and do my hair and all that stuff, I had to be pretty bold and figure a way to do it. And for that, I am so grateful. Like, for example, hearing all of you share how you went through that devastation, but now here you are empowering others. That's huge. We could have just endured or thrived, but now you're making a difference. I admire you, and I am so grateful to be among you.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that because you know what, Janet? I think you see better than most people.
Yeah, I like your makeup, Nicole. Yep.
Thank you. Life for, what it is and what a gift to share the stage with you. Thank you so much for doing that and a connection and a trust that you have. And so it's having that faith to overcome and conquer whatever that looks like for you in any way. And thank you so much. Let's bring up, oh my gosh, and then we'll go do. I've got Miss Terry. Miss Terry, you're next on my screen. So let's see. For you, friend, thank you for taking part in this. We connected online, and the glorious thing about doing that is that you can connect and you can take that call to come to the stage and to share your voice and your story. And for you, Terry, if someone feels stuck in their chaos right now, what's the first step that you would tell them? What's a solution that you would give them?
I think it depends on where point A is to point B, but I think I work a lot with beliefs. I did that as a therapist and I do that as a coach. I really believe that we are run by our beliefs. Everything we do gets filtered through that. So often being stuck, feeling stuck is about believing you can't do something, or there's a big fear wanting to move forward. So I really want to identify with or help them identify what that might be for them. And then we go from there. I work a lot with women who have just gone through a major life transition. And so they often do feel stuck because they feel like their role was their identity. And so I like to talk about the fact that your role is just a part of what you've been doing. It isn't your identity. Your true self, your true identity is really more about your values and your voice and all of those other things that make up who you are. So I think once women get clearer on who they are, then they get out of that stuck place. And then they can start deciding what they want next in their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's from our experiences and not only of ourself, but our experience and knowledge of what you bring to the table that to help people move forward and get past that and just share how to get over this hump of the post-traumatic growth. It'd be such a large mountain times with the next
Right.
step. And it's not just recognizing the victim self, but what's the solution to move next? And there's so many people I've seen it with my own mother coming into the life of staying either the victim or stuck in survivorhood, because that can be such it just, you're constantly stressed out. It's constantly, you're the best
Exactly.
partner in pain, and that's the only partner you'll ever be to anybody because you're not past that. And part of that is right now where we watch these videos of everybody's having a meltdown or something's happening and you feel for them, but then you look at how can we move past this? What's the solution in that? And thank you for bringing that in.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think too often we get stuck in our roles. That's my big mission we are not our roles. Like when my mom died and I wasn't her caregiver anymore, I felt totally lost and stuck. And then I thought I had to do some work on myself and get out of that moment that I am not a caregiver. That is not my identity. There's a lot more to me. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We wear so many different hats here and all the time. And sometimes it's just, which hat do I put on today? what which hat do I wear today? And you're half and half. And so to what do you define? And so Rainey, and we too met, just like Terry, we met online and you came and you showed up, and I'm so glad that you did. And every time I've talked to you, you're just so present, and I love that. What drew you to Devastated to Divine Alignment in supporting others and helping us bring awareness to our own personal moment or obstacle to move forward? What was that drew you here to come in and say, hey, I've got solutions I can bring?
I think it's exactly that. That so often, and the other ladies have spoken about it, your life can change in one moment. Agape and like the diagnosis. So that is life changing. But I think more often for most of us, it comes in layers, right? It sneaks up on us. It just keeps piling up one little thing after another. We think we can handle this part. We got this, but then something else comes in on top of it. And I think we need to be reminded, number one, that we're not alone. We have this group of women that all of us have experienced something. And we need to remind others that there is a world full of folks that have gone through it. And I always try to remind myself, like, there's not one devastating moment in my life. I'd have to think about all of these others, because devastation for one person is a Tuesday for another, right? It's all perspective, and we all handle it differently. And when we start understanding, for me, when I find myself in those moments that I feel overwhelmed and hopeless, I just have to remind myself, what can I learn from this? What can I take away of value? And that reframes everything for me. Because in every moment, as devastating as it can be, there is something for us to take away. There is the growth that's going to happen that Agape was talking about, which I love that perspective. And that's why I'm here, is just to share my story and hope that I reach one person that is feeling that devastation in the moment and let them know there is hope and we can help you get through it.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is hope, but there's also solutions, and hope is a good thing, but hope can be exhausting too. I hope that this works. I hope that this works. And you can feel that, and there can be a disconnect on, is there a solution to move forward? But I love what you're saying, because it is important to have that. Because if we don't even have the hope and it's totally gone and erased, then what do we have to look forward to?
And I guess I grew up, and so I grew up on a farm, and there's always a solution. That's just the way that I was raised. Like, it may seem unpractical and it may seem impossible, but there is always a solution to whatever is put in front of us.
Absolutely. Said, yes, there's a solution. It might not look right, but you don't know that it's a solution unless you did it. Did you try it? Did you take it on? Did you see it? And then you can say, hey, what if that actually works? Not what if it doesn't work? What if it actually works? And I like that you said that, and thank you so much for sharing that. These little takeaways of moving forward a little inch at a time, of what are we looking at? How are we changing? And what can we do in our lives, and to make those decisions and to actually decide? Because even if you don't decide, you still made a decision, right? So sometimes that's the crazy thing, right? Colleen, I'm going to bring you up here. And thank you for being here. And you have been, my friend, so supportive in this stage, sharing. And I've heard so much of your story. But before you found this alignment in your life, what did that to say, here you are? Because there have got to have been maybe some devastating parts of your life. And what did that alignment look like for you when you went, hey, this is my jam. I'm ready to do this?
I think first, the step before that is the moment when you realize that nobody's coming to save you. And so I think that, and then there's the part where you either make a decision to do something about it or you make a decision not to, right? And apparently everybody in this room decided to do something about it, no matter the amount of courage or strength that it took to make that decision, right?
And so I think that's a huge part of the process, is just deciding this isn't going to be my story. And you know what? We do get to rewrite the rules. We do get to decide for ourselves, regardless of what anybody else thinks or their input or output. Or at the end of the day, you've got one life and you have to decide that you're going to make it, that you're going to survive, you're going to get through this. And then just doing what it takes. And it's not how many times in our lives as women, and everybody I see in here is 30 and above, I think. And so how many times in our life have we made decisions for other people that we stood on? My kid is not missing a doctor's appointment. My family is not going without a meal. Why? And why does it take us so long to make that same commitment to ourselves? I am going to show up. I am going to do better. I'm going to build better for me. Forget the other people in my life. I'm going to do better for me, because this time I'm choosing me. And however painful that may look for other people, if you're not surviving and thriving, you also are not a benefit to the people around you. And so I think that getting in alignment with the fact that it's okay for you to take your side. It's okay for you to stand up for yourself. It's okay for you to say, you know what? That doesn't work for me. Right now I'm choosing me. And if that doesn't work for you, then I'm sorry that you feel that way. There's the door. And I think that just getting that alignment within ourselves, and it can come from wherever it needs to. And I'm not saying don't be caring and considerate and loving of the people around you. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying at the end of the day, we've spent years getting forgotten, right? We've spent years standing up for other people, standing up for everything that they need, making sure that all their needs were met. It's time that we do that for ourselves. And sometimes it takes really literally getting the rug drug out from under you, getting that hard slap in the face and going, you know what? I think it's time I do it my way. I think I'm going to take care of me first. And once you get that, and that's a hard step, that's huge. That's like, I know it feels like you're at the bottom of the staircase. You have to leap to the top, but you don't. You can go up one. And you know what? You can go back 2. And then you can go up 3. And that's okay, as long as you're constantly working towards that goal. And I think that's it, that when you get alignment like that, and you understand that you too are important, and it's important to take those necessary steps and then follow through with consistency. That's how the alignment starts, and that's how it grows into something beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The choice for yourself, and the choice to no longer allow someone else to victimize you or to re-victimize yourself. And sometimes we don't always see that's what we're doing. We're making ourselves small. We're not giving ourselves a chance. And as we grow, why would someone else give you a chance? But yet, if you do bring that speed in the decision financially to your business, then you can be in servitude to other people. And if I didn't have this business and I wasn't doing virtual events, we couldn't have a stage to talk about this. So if I'm waiting for someone else to do it, when's it going to happen? So taking charge to do that. It's a learning process. Absolutely. It is a learning process, but it's a wonderful place to bring people here. So Lorraine, I'm so glad that you're here. For you, my friend, a question is, what's for you in a devastating moment, in a moment in your life that maybe was the hardest part that no one saw, because sometimes we cry in silence?
Mine was when I left healthcare. So I had been in healthcare and healthcare leadership. I'm an RN by background, and I'd been in high-level leadership roles in hospitals for 35 years. And I was the chief nurse of a 306-bed hospital here in the Villages, Florida, and did that during COVID. What I learned during that time was how easy it is to get lost in what you do as opposed to who you are, because I became the nurse leader and I honestly didn't know who Lorraine Brown was at that point. So when I finally walked away from healthcare and said, there's nothing left, I was burned out. I was exhausted. I even had friends who were saying to me, we're afraid this job is going to kill you. So I knew that stepping away was the right thing to do, but I was terrified. I didn't know who Lorraine Brown was. The only thing that I knew was what I had been doing. I knew I was a mom. I knew I was a grandmother. I knew I was a daughter, but those were small parts of my life. And I liked the fact that Agape talked about it took time because I had to peel back all of those layers of security that I had put over me to figure out who was at the core and if I even still wanted to have anything to do with one, leadership or two, healthcare. Now, I was also blessed because I also have a very strong faith. And truly, during that period of time, I can look back on my life and there was only one set of footprints and they weren't mine. I was being carried the whole way because it took deep soul searching. And it wasn't until I was about 2 years into the journey in 2023 that I began to open up to the idea that I could even coach people related to healthcare or coach leadership. I'll be very honest, healthcare still terrifies me because it had become so all consuming that I really hesitate stepping back into that space, even to coach leaders. Although I see their pain and I am opening up to that, but that wasn't the devastation. The devastation was, who am I? And at this stage of my life, what does this second act even look like? I have no idea.
Yeah. What does it look like? That can be scary, right? You don't know, but you don't know until you do it. And I'm glad you stepped into that. It is a crazy process. This so right. And welcome to you, Lorraine. It's like you wake up in the morning and go, oh, I know that person. Who's that? Who's that stranger looking at me in the mirror? Woo. It's not always just the age and the change that, hey, you're not 20 anymore, but it's the acceptance of as we grow on a spiritual, mental, emotional level to say, I'm ready to level up. And I'm glad you took that step because to get out of that, because sometimes you're giving those tools and you think you have to rescue people. I thought I had to rescue people. That was my job. That was my task. I was a caregiver. My parents had mental issues. So it was like, I thought I was put here on earth to care for people and doggone it, I was going to do it come hell or high water.
Nurses are the ultimate caretakers, except for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And so when that cup was completely empty, I was wise enough to know I'm not in a space that I can continue to lead. I don't have enough for me. I don't, let alone anybody else. But I didn't know how to take care of me.
Yeah, and to be able to share that now with others, what a grateful thing. And to see that there's a different way that people can heal and there's a different way that people can be saved. Like it's not whack-a-mole at every time. Though I was good at the game at Chuck E. Cheese, but it's not something you're supposed to bring to life.
Exactly.
But hey, I had fun doing it. But that's what I got to look at. So let's go for another round of questions. And I saw a few other people come in, and I'm glad that you guys are here and supporting. Hope you guys got in okay with that new Zoom link. We had some issues with it, but hey, here we are today. And I'm going to go just down the line here again. And Samantha, what is a coping strategy that helped you survive? But later, as you started to rise up into becoming a mentor and rise higher to share and be the wise teacher, maybe that you had a ditch to truly thrive because it's something that works and it saves us, but we're never going to get past that. We're never going to truly go up to the top of that mountain. What's maybe a process or something that helped you?
Yeah. So honestly, it was having my tribe, having that high quality, high caliber support, that community around me that one knew like what I was going through, had been through it themselves, had conquered those things themselves, done the healing, and also those that were in the healing process at the same time. And having that support system is huge. We could do things all we want all our own and say, oh yeah, I'm strong, I can get through this, I've got this. But deep down, there's something else that needs that extra connection. For me, I would say that it was definitely having that community, having those mentors. And in that process, I was able to lean on the tools that I'd been learning. And in the healing, I also I laugh because through all my healing, then I wanted to become the healer. I wanted to be the one that could help others in the same way. And how can I be in that scope of practice? So I actually went and I certified myself. I went back to school. I got all the degrees, the certifications, and all the different modalities. And so that way now I can take my little, what I call my ingredient soup of knowledge and my tools and bring that together for those who also need that same space and create that space for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. And you healed on your journey. So now you can be a few steps ahead of other people and bring them a hand up. And sometimes it's your tribe that definitely lifts you. And the tribe here today, the people that are here in this group today, are definitely supportive and healing. But sometimes it's that tribe that can sink us. So it's re identifying, hey, reanalyzing, is this the right one for me? And are we truly doing what we should be doing together? And I think I just saw Karen. You're here. I'm so glad to see you. Karen and I have met on another stage, and it's just such an honor to have her here because she does wonderful things and she's always running around, but not like me. You're not busy running around being busy, but you're physically running around. And I'm so glad to have you here. I had a question for you. What's a belief about yourself that changed, that you had to really change your perspective on so that your life could actually change and you can rise up to the occasion?
The belief was that, yeah, I am definitely good enough. This whole thing is about being trapped in a narcissist abusive relationship and giving to everybody else is really what about me, and tapping into my inner beingness, tapping into my inner wisdom, tapping into my inner self and knowing what matters to me actually brings more value to my life than giving myself up for somebody else's happiness. And so really tapping into also realizing that we all have a deep potential. And it wasn't until I stepped into searching my soul that I found my potential. And you brought that up because, yeah, I'm an ultra distance runner. And that's my passion in life. I just love the fact of how much my body can sustain and heal and keep going running 100 miles or more.
It's just 100 miles.
It's just 100 miles.
I love that. I see your pictures. I saw that the other day. I think it was on LinkedIn. There you are running. It just fascinates me, the focus. And I'm so glad you're here. It's just so amazing. Jessica is a runner too. So you two need to definitely
Yeah, for
connect.
sure.
I love that. I love that. I got you up here. I want to ask you one more question and we'll catch up to the rest of the audience because everybody had a chance to share that we're on our second round. But for you, how did your relationship with fear, or because the situation that you were in previously that you just opened up about was really devastating, but that moment where you start to evolve, and it's never just one moment, is it really, but that moment time where it's time for that breakthrough to happen, how did that relationship with yourself change?
And it is a journey, right? It was really stepping beyond that. And what did I have to do to rescue myself from that situation? And it was stepping into support groups and connecting with other people and reading books and whatnot. And it was the AAA. It was the Al-Anon, I'm going to say, because my family, I was in a family of alcoholism and whatnot. I thought, let me try this. And the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. But then as I learned through that own journey of myself, we have two emotions, fear and love. And what do I choose to step into? And as I teach, what I do is actually that fear is taught when we're kids. we're taught in this, we have these inner critics, we have those saboteurs, we live our life in stress and overwhelm, and that's that fear. But there's another way of living, and that's stepping into your own wisdom, to your own passion, to your own heart. And it transformed my life immensely to where today I do have a marriage, a relationship of 16 years. We've been married over 10 years, and it just still feels like it's new. So it's a blessing. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. I love that. I love that. And to see on the other side, to be able to experience the happiness and the happy ending that we've come through
Mhm.
moment and that time. And that's so wonderful. Thank you for saying that and sharing that. Agape, I'm going to bring you up because I just saw this one's for you, and I want to have you answer this because I know you'll share more about it in your talk, but those such a dark moment, but you always show up for other people. And what keeps you moving forward, even when hope is quiet? It's silence. Where is it? Nobody's knocking on your door. Nobody's calling you. Nobody's throwing. It feels nobody's throwing you that lifesaver in that moment. When you're in that, what does that feel like when it's almost like somebody's finally knocks and says, "Hello, I'm here to help," or you feel that's the resource that you need? What's that moment? It's not that the heavens open up because we're waiting for that moment that we see in TV. But what was that moment like for you when people were there for you and you could now change and become their survivor and now the mentor?
Oh, another loaded question. You sure have some great ones for me, Nicole.
Have you met me?
Many times. So I would have to say in the beginning, initially when I had went through that double attempted homicide, I can share that I made over 800 1-800 phone calls before I actually got to someone. And it happened to be like a referral of a referral because I didn't have time to keep track of who I was calling. I just kept calling and calling in hopes of finding somebody. And I must have dialed this particular number quite a few times. And they were like, okay, this woman is like really in need. And they took the initiative to find someone, even though they were on the other side of the state. They just said, this person is going to be the one for you. And when that individual reached out to me, it was like an interview process, right? Because they are a domestic violence advocate and they have been burned in the past. And they had made a commitment to themselves that they were going to put that towel on the rack and no longer be an advocate based on their own experience. But after speaking with me and getting to know my story and hearing my tenacity and true desire to survive, she said, okay, I'm going to take you on as a client. And my goodness, that was the all in one advocate that I needed because through that advocate, I was able to get every single thing that the state of California offers for a victim. So I got into a confidential address program. I was able to take I call the donor's name off the birth certificate. I was able to revoke all the rights. I was able to change social security numbers. I was able to do everything that safeguards a survivor. And that person, that advocate was truly an all-in-one advocate. It was worth the 800 phone calls that I made. But that took about 8 months. Not like I was making 100 calls a day. I was working, I was doing multiple things, living in the courthouse to get these things done while they were incarcerated, because that's the safest thing to do. And I did it. And how it feels to now be a person that provides services. I had to go through the 21 years. I'm still in all of these programs, by the way. And I would have to say that being by myself and never going back home, staying and independent and navigating these uncharted waters, this is how I'm able to meet people where they are. And that's why our mission is helping when you are seeking the help. I can't force anybody to seek help if they're not ready for it. I can only help those that are seeking it and ready for it. And it feels great because not only can I meet them where they're at, I understand that I break the ice immediately by sharing my personal story. And then I would share my wisdom. There's so many resources that are out there. And again, when you're being kept so incredibly warm by that tight blanket of doubts wrapped around you, it's hard to think logically. You are in nothing but emotions. And we confronting domestic violence is in the crisis hotline. We are in domesticshelters.org. We are available for people that when they are in that moment, we are able to help. And it's so fulfilling. It is so fulfilling. I can't remember where I heard this, but somebody said, when somebody asks, is your glass half full or half empty? The response is, it doesn't matter. Just finish filling it up. And that's what that does for me. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. I used to be like, what happens if the glass is broken? It's yeah. If it's half, is it half full or half empty? It's half. But the fact that you are so quick to respond, or that you're always doing something right away. Let's do this. Let's take care of this right now. And I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that, Holly. Let me bring you up here. Am I hitting the wrong thing? Okay. Hey, Miss Holly. So here's the question for you: when alignment hit and asked you to let go, and it was that freedom of, hey, I'm ready to take the leap. I'm ready. I'm here. I'm open. I'm ready. I'm going. No questions in your mind. No monkey mind chatter. Just that freeing moment of that. "Ah, I'm aligned with where I need to be. I'm in the right place right now." What did that look like for you?
Great question. So I mentioned earlier about being in recovery, and that was like this alignment that opened up so many things. And so I got to be very just intentional, but really know who I was and in my body instead of out here. And so when things come, it's like they have to knock me on the head, but I know that's what I'm supposed to do. And there were many pivoting points that I had to go through to move up the ladder to where I am today. And my faith, my family, my tribe that everyone talked about, it moved me personally, business. My business I've known what I wanted to do for most of my life. I'm very A personality. When I want to do something, I'm going to go do it. But that's to my fault also. But I kept going in the direction of the goals, and that's personally and professionally, and just listening to myself. And when those things hit, take action, even if they're scary, even it is when I was like, I want to have my business. And at some point, my own business, and at some point, I just had to jump and pray there was a net that was going to catch me, because nothing else, you just don't know. You jump into that unknown. And so many times in my life, it's been that unknown, but knowing that just having that faith that I was going to be taken care of in whatever way that was. So that's really my moment.
I love that. And you step through that fire into the spotlight now, right? What a wonderful time to do that. Thank you so much. I know I saw Masango just pop in. I've got a question for you because, sir, and you're the only gentleman here, but thank you for coming and supporting. I love that. And you talk about leadership, my friend. And for you, when you're making decisions now compared to a life changing moment, or maybe a spot when you were in some chaos, whether it was physical or just a mental moment, what did that change look like for you in that moment to align and step into maybe a leadership role in the change to say, yes, I'm ready to free myself from this chaotic moment?
I think for me, it's been really reconnected to my purpose. In a way, God has put us on for a purpose, and we have to discover our own purpose. And then I think once you have time to reflect, that's something that's really has helped me in a way. And then what also has helped me is I'm spiritual. Not everybody is, but I was born and raised as a Roman Catholic. So that connection for me it has always been a source of strength. So on my down moment, I always go and try to get some energy. So in terms of leadership, what I've learned is that the leadership is not a solo venture. Leadership is really in terms of developing others. And personally, that's where I got the greatest fulfillment, giving to others and seeing them grow and flourish. And having worked in senior corporate role, I find that I was the most effective when I displayed that type of leadership. Not only it gave me a great deal of fulfillment, but also it allowed the organization to be at its best because I was then able to unleash their own creativity and become engines of creativities within the organization. Down moment, yes, there has been some down moment, but what has helped me is that the growth mindset, because it's been an area where I felt like I should really quit, but my growth mindset did not allow me. Should I quit? Yes, I probably could, but I didn't want to. So I think there are many pieces. I'm giving lots of answers here without really. I'm giving contours of many answers. So Nika, I don't know if I'm doing justice to what you wanted to hear.
You absolutely are. It's the belief that you said that you have. And it's the faith that you have. And that turns into faith of yourself and faith of your fellow man and your community to support others. And it's the faith, it's that hope turned into the faith because we can be reaching out so much, but it's offering the solutions and the empowerment and to be there as full support. And it's huge. And I think we should talk about faith in whether it's a spiritual faith or faith in yourself and others. Those components are huge for building the process and providing solutions, and to make sure that not only that you have the faith and hope, but that you're there at the end to make sure and circle back to make sure that people are moving forward, not just giving them a good felt message and that's it. Thank you so much for that. Absolutely. Jessica, I'm going to come to you here. For you, my friend, how do you know when you're out of alignment and how do you course correct it quickly now that you're in a sense of your own power?
I think that it's just really being mindful when things start to feel icky. When you feel out of alignment, you feel icky. And really looking inward to my thoughts. I've done a lot of work on mindset and just really start to question, why am I feeling this way? What am I thinking? And is this thought true? Or is this just something that maybe I'm falling back on because it's a safe thought, whether it's beating myself up on something or self-doubt. It's just safe because I've always gone there. And just again, through my mindset work, I've really just stepping back and asking, is this true? And I get to choose how I'm thinking about a situation. If something's upsetting me, or again, I'm feeling that self-doubt. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a check in with yourself. Great. That's
Yes.
great. Yeah, absolutely. Check in and find the solution because what are your daily practices? What are your rituals? And sometimes you need to reach back to them. That's why we do them over and over again. And I'm going to bring Janet up here. Janet, and another question for you. So, what's a daily practice that you utilize to keep yourself grounded when life maybe starts to seem like it's a little out of hand or the noise gets a little loud in our monkey mind?
Yeah, a lot of things can get loud of me because my ears are always in tune to so many things. I think the most important thing is, what don't I do? And by that, I mean, I'm very conscious not to believe the lies that sometimes come in our minds. For example, if I face challenges, technological problems, for example, or issues that come up, visually they'd be simple to resolve. But without vision, they can become big obstacles. So do I feel, I guess I can't do this, or feel as like a victim, or feel defeated? I don't do that. I make a point that whatever it is I'm facing, whatever challenge, like when I travel by myself, being blind, I don't focus on, oh, what if the person's not picking me up when they said they would, or how will I navigate in a hotel by myself? I never do that. I conquer those thoughts and those notions always with the truth to conquer fear, conquer anxiety, conquer worry. So I make a point, Nicole, never to entertain those things. Fear, worry, anxiety, none of that are part of me. And let me tell you, I've been in situations when I could have easily felt like, or thought, or acted upon, what am I doing here? Like when I was speaking in Ecuador in the middle of an earthquake, and the house began to shake, and the announcers on the radio were saying, literally, they were saying, please make sure you take the blind by the hand and lead them out. I'm thinking, seriously, they have to remind them of that? Or do they know I'm here? But at that moment, I could have felt fear. But I didn't, because I knew that when I fear, when I get nervous, when I get worried, I can't think clearly. But when all those negative emotions leave my mind, then I have more wisdom, more clarity. So what I did, there was the housekeeper was there, and me, we were the only ones in there, and she started screaming. She said the chandelier was shaking and all that. Obviously, I couldn't see any of it, but I could feel the table shaking, the chair shaking. So I said, give me your hands. And I just did pray with it. I prayed and believed that everything would be calm and everything would be peaceful. And she calmed down first. And then, of course, the tremors stopped. To answer your question, I'm very, very conscious of what not to do. Not compare myself with others. Not think that I don't measure up or not think that I'm not doing enough. I always want to think of the positive, the good things, and what I am able to do day in and day out. Yep.
Absolutely. That's such a great message. What can you do? And for you to stand into your power, come back to your faith in that moment and say, hey, this is what I have control of right now. And to give the blessing not only in the moment to the housekeeper, but she's going to remember that forever. That's a moment she's going to tell everybody else, this is what happened. That's so powerful and so grateful. So, Terry, I'm going to bring you up here. When people hesitate, what advice do you have for someone that feels almost ready? Maybe someday I'm getting there. I'm going to be there. I'm taking a little tiptoe in, feeling the water's a little cold and they back off. And what is something what advice can you give to people who feel ready for the change and the push, but they keep hesitating?
Some interesting questions to I always go back to that fear because I think when you're in fear and there's always that unknown, and so you're walking into this unknown. And so I think if I'm working with somebody and they're like almost ready but not quite, I want to find out what they're afraid of. Like what do they think might happen? And then we work with that fear. You asked somebody just recently about what they do to maybe stay calm, stay in alignment. I use tapping. I don't know if anybody else knows what that is, but it's emotional freedom techniques. And I always teach clients how to do tapping, even if they just tap in one spot that's calming. It helps them get over that hurdle sometimes of fear so that they can then move forward, depending on how great that fear is. I don't know if that answered your question very well.
Sure. Tapping's a great technique when you're ready. It's like, hey, take that leap. Whatever you need to do to
Yes.
go. And it's like a kid, I'm going to take my blankie with me. If that's what you got to do, take it with you, right? Just make that step ahead. And sometimes it's just the refocus on the tapping. It gets us to concentrate more on what's the fear and then let it go, right?
It brings down a lot of the emotion. And so then, because when you're swimming in fear or anxiety or whatever, it's really hard to think clearly or act. And so if you can bring down some of the emotion, then usually people have more clarity. And it's a tool that everybody can use. So once I teach them, they can use it on themselves as well.
Absolutely. And sometimes focusing directly on that, it's almost like in a meditation, and everybody's like, clear your mind. What's the first thing that comes up? Let that go. What's the first thing that comes up? Or somebody tells you in a crazy moment, calm down. What's the first thing you're going to do is react. So just focusing on that moment and giving yourself the grace to say, okay, whether I'm in emotional pain or my head feels it's insufferent. Why is that? And how can I heal it? It's like a pain. Where is the pain? Why is it there? And what can I do to heal it? And so asking yourself those questions in the moment instead of, hey, I know we all have the answer, but are we looking for that answer? And are we taking a chance to do that? Rainey, I'm going to ask you this next question here. How do you stay aligned when you're still growing and you're stretching and you're taking those big risks? How does somebody stay aligned knowing that they're about to take a risk and they're moving past that fear? What's that next step?
I think for me, I like to think, what's the best thing that can happen? Right? Of course, with risk, there comes reward. And so instead of getting stuck in the stinking thinking, all of the things that could happen, what's the best thing that could happen? And if you start moving towards that, even if you don't hit the best thing, it's still going to be pretty dang good. And it is just a little bit of a reframe. And so when I find myself getting stuck in that stinking thinking, and we all do it, I just have to remind myself, but what if the best thing happens? And then that gives me something else to look at.
I love that, because what if it does happen and it goes right? What happens then? What if you get to your goal? I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And beyond, right? Because it's a better thing that can happen. Yeah.
And then you can help others, and it's in that success. So if you're out there going, hey, I'm a coach and it's not working for me, or why are these clients not coming to me? And you go, hey, what if I can do this? How can I help them? How can I help myself? And sometimes it's just taking that next step, that leap in there. And I'm going to bring up Colleen here. How has your story helped you show up differently for others? How does it help you? Because you have such a motivation to support other entrepreneurs, but also support people in your community.
I think just being able to relate, knowing the feeling. I think somebody said earlier that everybody's trauma is different, but yet it's all the same, right? The pain of it is all the same. And so I think just being able to relate and really just empathize with that you do understand. And also being able to use my story to give other people hope that there is a good outcome, that there can be an amazing outcome, right? And so just being able to remove the fear, remove the anxiety, remove the overwhelm, and share the vision of hope, and really just let them know that they will get their confidence back, that they'll be able to do this. I think that's the biggest way is going to be by using those things to just align with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What can happen next? And so many solutions here today that we're providing. And whether it's a moment of just desperation, or a moment of mental fog or stress, or even a moment in domestic violence awareness, it's solutions that you can take one step at a time, or solutions for you. And that's what everybody here is offering. Of course, you'll hear more about that when people are coming to this stage where they're talking. Nikki, I'm going to bring you up. What does it mean for you to really provide? You're here supporting not only yourself by stepping on the stage and sharing your story, the group of people that are here, but even past that, and the audience and the other speakers. But what does that mean to you personally to prevent any mental, emotional tragedy and move forward in that, to say, hey, we're not going to just get to the aftermath of the mess, but how can we prevent it?
I think when we recognize where we're at, we get to see and celebrate that there is a step forward. And I think that is supportive to everybody. When you can celebrate what somebody else does, you're celebrating yourself. And when you celebrate yourself, you innovate to a new level. And when you support other people, no matter whether you think you're at the top of the mountain or the bottom of the mountain, you are part of a group of people. And that group of people spans the mountain. And I think that supporting one another is one of the greatest gifts we can have, because in that support, we create strength within ourselves and within others. So for me, community support, encouragement that goes mutually. I've heard everybody speak so powerfully here about empowering one another. They might not have said those words, but that's what they're doing. And every story empowers somebody, even if you don't think it does, because they can relate, and it brings a freedom. Does that answer your question? Because that's what it stirred in me.
I love that. And it's so powerful, the answer. And you step right into that. Thank you so much for that. It's how do you step up? How do you show up differently? How do you look at that? And that's moving in that alignment. And that does create an absolute
And I think a big
effect.
part of that is, yes, I totally agree. We get to care about ourselves, but when we serve people around us, we actually take our focus off some of our pain. So we get to care about ourselves, but still care about others. And it puts us in a very powerful position. It empowers us.
So true. And when we stand in our leadership self, and that's how we do that. So, Lois, I got a question for you. And then just so you guys are aware, Karen will be talking at 2. And just before Karen comes on the stage, after the speaker panel, we'll take a few minutes to take a short break and recoup in this. Lois and I believe in Lorraine here. One more question. But Lois, for the audience that's there right now and they're ready to really take that next step, what is something that you would suggest to people to fully step in and make that change and just be into that divine alignment for the next step and then the next level in life?
I just would say, okay, so it takes me back to being in high school. I was like majorly shy through school. And coming into my senior year, I thought, okay, this is going to be different. I'm going to be different. I'm going to step out. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to participate. And I think it's just a point of you need to look at yourself and say, it's time. It's time to step up. It's time to be the person who goes up to another person and says, hi, I'm Lois. Who are you? And you need to make those decisions on what you want the future you to be remembered. I was sharing the story with my grandchildren this weekend that there was a boy that I remembered in 3rd grade. His name was Scott. I don't know his last name, but his name was Scott. And he really stuck out because he was nice to everyone in the class. He was nice to the brainy people. He was nice to the rough people. He was nice to the people who maybe weren't so kind to others. But it's cool that sticks out. And I use him as a reference for myself. And I want people to remember me as the nice person. So you need to look and see, what do you want your future to behold for you?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you want your future to look like for a child? To have that sight to look forward and say, hey, this is what the legacy, the moment the impression I want to leave with other people. And kindness is definitely different than just being nice, right? Because we've all been the doormat at one point or another. But the kindness is the ability to step up and maybe even be an accountability partner for others. But you remember that person, you always remember that person forever. How you felt just by the grace that they've given you. What a wonderful thing to come back to. And Lorraine, this is a great question to wrap up the panel with that I saved for you. And I love this one is, what part of you emerged from those devastating moments or times that you're most grateful for today? That, of course, being here, I'm sure, is a moment, and I'm grateful to have you on the stage with me, but something that you can show that was the grace for you.
So there were a couple of things. I think, first of all, it was being willing to open up and let people come around me and walk with me on the journey rather than trying to do it myself. And I think that recently I was with some friends and we were talking about characteristics of one another that we liked and respected. And for many of us, oftentimes it's, you're right there with me, you're kind, you're lots of things. But what was crazy was every single one of them said, your resilience. And initially it took me aback because I'm thinking, okay, I really would like to think of myself as kind. But then I got to thinking about it, and it showed how far I had come and that I was resilient. I could rise above the circumstances. And it gives me hope that I can continue to do that. So I think that those are the things that I could walk away and say, praise God, this is where I am. And he's truly revealed who I am at my core.
Love that. And the ability to be thankful in that moment too, and to recognize that. And sometimes that's it, is are we recognizing that in the moment, being thankful for that? That's awesome. So with that, I thank you for being here.
Our mission at Confronting Domestic Violence is to provide real-time resources to victims and offer relocation services when parents have a safe place to go and not the means to get there. Countless families wake up in fear, navigating a battleground in their own home, trapped in a cycle of violence. It is a known fact the most dangerous time for a victim is when the abuser knows they're leaving right up to the point of leaving. The biggest challenges a parent faces is fear and finances. While we aim to help numerous families each month by fostering multi-agency collaborations, we're humbly asking you for your support. Every little bit helps to make our mission a reality for families ready to leave their toxic, abusive environment. No parent should have to leave everything behind or resort to homelessness. Your contribution can make a world of difference in offering a family to feel safe at home.